Welcome to Brave Healer Productions. It's time to experience what's possible. So, what if there's something you haven't learned yet that could change everything? Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions Publishing, where we are helping the world experience what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing authors of one of our newest books. You guys, this one is called Joy Unleashed, the ultimate guide to living your best life. I know I love saying that title. And I have some pretty cool people in my Zoom room I'm about to introduce to you, but a huge shout out to our lead author, Shari Alyse, first, you guys. Shari, you had a big vision and mission about joy, and you have gathered around you a stellar group of expert co-authors to talk about joy in all of the ways. I'm so excited about this project and grateful and honored to be guiding this with all of your amazing co-authors. So thank you. We would not be here without you. All right. I want you to meet some pretty incredible authors today, you guys. Deborah Guerrero is the CEO of Awaken the Banker Within, where they teach you how to make a profit paying your bills. I love it, Deborah. All right. We've got Lulu Pearl Trevina with us, artist, poet, Silver Nautilus award-winning author, creatrix of Live Life with Wonder, retreat leader, changing the societal narrative about women and age. Happy to have you, Lulu. And Susan Throop is here. She's a founder of Velvet and Moxie. I hope I'm getting that one right. Am I, Susan? Velvet and Moxie? Oh my gosh. We need to hear more about that. Okay. Inspiring leaders to rise above the noise, reclaim their true voice, and lead with unapologetic clarity. Well, we're starting with you, Susan. So this is perfect. I was looking at the bio. I think I should get an award for reading bios, y'all. But anyway, I was looking at these words here, and sometimes, these funny little characters show up. I'm like, oh no, I'm going to mess up her bio. Susan, tell us a little bit of the why behind the chapter that you wrote.
Sure. So I'm proud to be author of Chapter 8, The Me Set Button, to rebel and end your need for external validation. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to share with others my own journey of giving myself permission to pause, breathe, and choose differently, to move out of reaction into intention, and to live a life that's more calm, curious, and made of my own choice. So I think it was a simple tool to share with folks, but it's also highly impactful and it's very easy to manage on a day to day. It's not a long process or a hard process. So for me, that was important to share of like, how did you do it? How did you rewrite your story? It's one of the most popular questions that I get from people.
Can you give us an idea of maybe one thing that was happening in your life that necessitated this?
Sure. So I imploded my whole life. I don't expect people to do that, but in my chapter, I share a little bit about getting divorced from my first husband and realizing that, I came to love myself more than I loved him and things just needed to be different. And how I walked through that decision ultimately is the founding portions and pieces of the Me Set button on a much deeper, larger hunk of my life. But you can use it in simpler ways as well.
All right. So listen, getting rid of a desire for external validation, this is no joke of a journey to move through needing to feel needed and wanted and have people say, hey, good job, like you're good enough. But, in the end, that should really come from within. Yes. Like, what else do you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing was when I made the decision for myself and then I shared it with people who I thought were friends. I've now defined the word acquaintance as people I'm familiar with and I know but don't consider friend because I think through the journey, when I shared my decision that was, I knew in my heart was right for me, and people invalidated it and tried to dissuade me from taking action, I think that's when I learned that I had to listen more to myself than other people. And if that means you have to change your tribe and take those additional steps, then that's what you have to do. But a lot of people, I think, just do what other people tell them they should do and let them make decisions for their lives. And that's the bigger piece of it. But I think there's some short things you have to learn to do in smaller pieces in order to help you get there, because some of those narratives that got you where you are today won't get you where you need to go.
Susan, thank you for saying yes to this project, for being here today to share. You are kicking this interview off in a super duper awesome way. I love going deep with you guys and getting underneath these very vulnerable stories that you put in the book. So thank you for doing that. Lulu, I'm going to come over to you next. Give us a little bit of your why.
Yes. I'm chapter 15, and it's called It's Finally All About Me, Taking Center Stage in Your Life. And, as a woman in her 60s, I think for a long time, it's easy to use our energy and our focus on others. We've kind of programmed from a young child. And so for me to write about this chapter and this topic for the reader to understand, where have you given away your power and where have you not been the center in your life? Like no one else can put you there, only you can put you there. So my why and my story, I'm sure people will enjoy parts of it. Sometimes you've got to take a big breath and a big gulp and do it anyway. And this is what mine's more about.
Okay. Thank you for that, Lulu. This is hard for people. And I'm going to say it's hard for a lot of the women that I know to finally, I love that you used that word, finally step in to center stage, step into the spotlight. I know that you had to get over a certain amount of, I'll just call it fear, purpose-driven fear, maybe for that. What else do you want people to know about that?
I want to say I actually was quite comfortable being a little invisible. I had a opportunity to share this on a weekend recently, and women, because they get their worth from serving, from helping, from supporting it, for ourselves, we actually feel really good about that. And I felt good about being a mother and a wife and a community person that gathered people together. But when I realized for myself how much I had diluted myself or faded into the background, that's not a comfortable place to be. We all want to have people to care about us, but really us to really care about us. Like the first, put your oxygen mask on first. We need to care about ourselves. So it was a lot of reclamation of myself and, realizing places that I had diluted, shaved off, vanished, and actually stepping back forward, in my own shoes, in my own boots, and keep walking forward.
Yeah, you're talking about a really important and powerful awareness process, which is everything about this. And I'm thinking about this photo that you shared from you had the group program and you shared a photo with me, which is just like a goddess photo. It's one of you in the chair, and I think it was a poetry thing. And yeah, and I'm just not sure. Like, I am brave, but I'm not sure I'm that brave. Like, how did you get to the point where you could just do this unapologetically? And is it just not caring what other people think? What is it?
So that photo is this story in this book, that photo. And I haven't shared that with many people, by the way. So you're privileged, but you'll get the sense once you read my chapter anyway. We actually have to stop caring about what people think about us because that's in them. It's not actually in us. And people are really good at projecting their own fears, their own insecurities onto you or onto me. I've noticed they've been able to do that. And in moments when we don't feel strong in ourselves, they can stack on top of, each other. So as I said, with the reclamation and the unraveling and all of that, it's about peeling back till we go, oh, this is who I am. And if I want to be a little sassy today, I'm going to be a little sassy. If I'm going to be more, I'm just in the periphery, but watching intently and aware of everything. We get to choose that. And, especially women in our culture do not get, well, they actually often, people want to make us invisible. Get to 50, you're invisible. Before that, there's a fair bit of attention. And sometimes when we're young, too much attention that feels uncomfortable. So we kind of go between really a lot of attention to no attention. And women in their 50s and beyond really need to reclaim their own sovereignty and be the crone that they choose to be, whatever that means to them. And no, society can't define that for us. We define that.
Thank you for that. And thank you for sharing that photo with me. Now everyone in the world is going to want to see it, but you guys, I was the privileged one. You may not be able to see this amazing photo of Lulu. All right. So Deborah, I'm going to come over to you now. Tell us a little bit of the why behind your chapter.
To be authentic is honestly just coming right off of what Lulu said, to live, to play all out. And to be authentic, why come here and play little, right? And we get to that point where, yes, Lulu, when are we going to be here for what we came for? And quit worrying about what this one thinks or this one thinks. And honestly, coming from, and even part of my story, and the reason I chose that part of the story is that for so much of the outside world, they would go, oh, wow, for a minister of this, that was hard. That was yuck. No, if you read through the story, that was my blessing. See, that was my blessing that my mother upheld that contract so I could go through and become what I wanted to become. And that doesn't always look so good. But if we hang in there till the end, we can look back and go, man, I'm glad she did. It's kind of sucked at the moment. It didn't feel so good. Sure as hell don't want to go back there. Yet at the same time, man, yeah, thank you. Because without that, I sure would have went on that other road because it looked easier. But boy, I'm so glad I went to this one. And then when you start really getting that by the way, yes, Lulu, just because they think this, they might be thinking it to help push your rear end on over here. They might be thinking it because that's part of the contract, when inside they were going, ooh, I wish she didn't do that. That's probably not, that's going to be, yeah, but go that way because they're rooting being that contract. And I think that coming out of it, when you can really look at that perspective, it's a blessing. And there is zero ability, and being in the movie Zero Limits, there is zero ability to have any victimhood from that perspective and stance.
Okay, you brought up contract. So for the people who don't know what you're talking about, I just also want you to know that, like, you made me think a little bit about my dad. So yours might have been your mom. Mine was kind of like my dad. I'm like, really? Like that relationship and all the things. And then I thought, all right, if he came in on that contract, came into this world to help me with a mission that I might have, and I came to pretty full forgiveness about all of the things that went on. So, some people don't even get to do that in a lifetime. What do you want to tell people about this contract thing?
I call it a contractor, for me, a scroll. But I believe when we get here, I believe we have a good God, the I am. And any good parent is not going to put you through April Fools for your life, right? So we come here with a desire and a plan. And in that is what we should be helping each person achieve and reach, because there's where we fulfill for not only our own self, but so many others. Just like I absolutely believe, Laura, you definitely have a contract to help people in books. And in that scroll, on your scroll, look how many people you're touching, Laura, and giving an avenue for this, and through Shari and so forth. So I believe in my contract, my scroll was to come play a part, and yet I have the free will to navigate that. And I can say at any point in time, we're ready to get off this train and heal and go this direction. And taking that with heart, and again, we connect heart and brain, we become one. We have such freedom. And by the contract, again, my wording or scroll, I can't have any part of a victimhood if I ask somebody to sign a contract with me. I mean, I'm asking them to help me out here. Stick with me. So again, there's removes the perspective of victimhood, and what a powerful position you stand in.
Oh my gosh, yes, for sure. Deborah, thank you also for saying yes to this project, for being here to share with everyone. To all three of you, I have so much gratitude. You took on the challenge. You put the vulnerable stories into this book, and then you're stepping up in the second part of these chapters with your spark. I love that we called it the spark. And I asked you to put some of your master teachings and to really teach the reader something that they could have a practical experience with. You all did that so brilliantly. So thank you for that. While I'm sharing some of that gratitude, I just want to give everyone a little sneak peek of the beautiful book covers, gorgeous, gorgeous Joy Unleashed cover. We have a lot of people that help us out with our book design. So a quick shout out to Dino Marino for his cover design on this Joy Unleashed book. Lulu, can we find joy no matter what? And why? If so, how? What's your version of that?
I believe we can. And, if we think of some of the historical leaders, through history, they've gone through some, major trauma and, can be exiled or put in jail and then find something that keeps them going. I think we all have that ability. That's not to discount anyone's trauma or their experience of life, because those are things that, do shape us as well. I actually mentioned about happiness in my chapter, and happiness is something that I feel kind of comes and goes. With in a good mood, we're happy. Someone did something, we're happy. But joy is a cultivated thing that you can, no matter what's happening around you, you can actually touch it if you've created it. You can be the generator or the amplifier of joy, and you can drop into that in yourself, even while crying, I believe. So we can have, and that's a power, like an inner power. It doesn't come from anyone but us. And being on a healing journey for, many, many years, maybe it takes a bit for, some of the readers to actually journey that way. It's not like I'm waking up tomorrow and I'm joyful. We actually discover it in ourselves, and then we can amplify it.
I love the way that you started us off on this one. I wondered about this question with all of you. So thank you, Lulu. I'm really enjoying listening to that answer. Deborah, you're next. Like, what do you want to add? Can we find joy no matter what?
Well, I'm Cajun. It's a guarantee. It's absolutely. You can, doesn't matter what trauma you've been through. Joy is a choice. It's a choice. You're going to have a feeling. So why don't you go ahead and choose joy? Because the more you choose it and the quicker you get into gratitude, the absolute quicker you will move from the state you're in and start living in that state.
Yes. So energetic, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely guarantee I can help you get there. It's energetically. When you smile, Laura, to someone in a grocery store, even if you don't know them, you force their immune system up just from your smile. If they smile back, if someone else sees you, you actually force theirs too. So just walk around with a smile. You'll be healthier, and we shift the world. It's a choice.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. Susan, what do you want to add to this? Can we find joy no matter what, and how? How do we do that if so?
I think we can, and I believe it's possible. I do believe probably some people listening don't trust it, right? And that's part of what I talk about in the chapter, is that depending on where your trauma comes from, sometimes trusting joy, it feels uncomfortable when it first starts to happen. So what I tell people is take it in small doses. Find those little things, little moments, don't expect, like Lulu said, you have to cultivate it. It takes practice, just like running a marathon. You don't just get up off the couch and the next day you run a marathon, right? So you have to practice it. But you find those little places, and then as you do and you become more comfortable with it, then I believe you start to seek it out more and it becomes more present in your life.
I love that too. I think this is all true. And I want to remind people, even though I also believe you can find joy no matter what, that it is a choice. You've heard Deborah say that. I'm not talking about doing it to cover up the feelings you need to feel. Like, I want to be super clear that our professionals understand the healing journey from a standpoint of, you got to give yourself permission to feel all the things. But when you have that, I always joke about it. I call it a ninja level of awareness. Like when you're really practicing, when you have a discipline of awareness, then you get a choice. And when you can feel all the things and give yourself permission to feel all the things, then yeah, energetically you can shift into joy, and that is your choice, right? So I always like to kind of just put that little 2 cents about that in there, because we don't want to cover it up.
If I may, real quick, I use the analogy from being beat or raped. I had joy immediately after being raped, because I was still alive.
Mm.
So sometimes that's where we start.
Okay, so Deborah, you're next on this last question. So that's perfect, because that's pretty intense. I think that's probably a tough one for people to hear and understand fully. What's the most important thing you want us to know about this process? And in your chapter, you talk about how to attract 4,000 times faster. You got to love a title like that. But what else do you want people to know about that spark that you wrote about?
Through that is the healing. And it is in the healing. That's how you get to that part. And it's not just it's over. I don't want to limit people, because again, from the movie Zero Limits, we can move things in quantum, right? We can quantum jump. But the spark is that, again, no matter where you are, the only part of failure is when you give up. And you just keep taking that one step. And sometimes, you said this, Susan, you may actually feel like you step backwards. Honey, as long as you're still in motion, because emotion is energy and flow, as long as you're in emotion and connect with these emotions, because that's our signals, right? Of kind of where to heal and what needs to be done. And the more we're going towards that positive, the more that every day we can have that gratitude and wake up in not where I was, or not what happened or why, or keep, well, if this person didn't do it, and we pick up the mirror and go, forget about that person. Why am I here? Why did I attract it? Because in frequency, it's a law. There's not a law of attraction. It's a law of frequency. 1 + 1 will always equal 2. If we were in a negative or lower vibration, this is what we attract. When we learn to push this up and live in the higher vibration, we attract better and higher things. And here is the learning to be authentic. And once we do, we're attracting so many great things that life is so different. But again, it starts with that gratitude and being able to come into joy no matter where we are, Laura. You got a breath, you have an opportunity.
Yeah. Gratitude that you're breathing today, that you can take a deep breath. There's a lot of things to be grateful for. All right, Susan, for you, what's the most important thing you want us to know about ending that need for external validation?
I think what I want the readers and people listening to take away is that it's your life. You get to live it, right? And listening to everyone's opinions, we inherit stories from our family. We inherit stories from work, school. Like there's constantly data being given to us about how we should do X, Y, and Z. But I think when you align more to yourself, and the truer you are to yourself, the more energy you have. Like that's where I got to the point for my divorce. And part of what I share in my story is I was just exhausted of trying to like hold it all together and live this story that I thought I was supposed to be the main character of, and realize that's not my journey, that's not my purpose. And so when you start to dial that stuff down, you can start to hear yourself more, because that voice is always there. It's just, I believe there's so much other noise around that you just can't hear it. And so giving yourself that break, even if it's just 45 seconds a day, can really make a difference.
Fantastic, Susan. Thank you. All right, Lulu, I think this is fun, because taking us out with what you want to leave us with in terms of taking center stage, right? Where you are all taking center stage with these beautiful chapters in Joy Unleashed. What do you want to leave people with today?
Well, I'm sure, we have readers in our group here. So when you're reading a story and you're involved in the story, and sometimes you even take on the character, the main character, what if you pivoted and said, what is my story? What is the main character in my story, as a inquiry, each day? So, center stage doesn't mean you need to be on stage. It doesn't mean you need to do something radically different. Where is it that you can feel really, truly embodied in your body, clear in your thoughts, open in your heart, and connect with others from a true, authentic place? That's center stage. That's, unabashedly yourself. I hear in some circles we give no fucks about stuff when we get older, and I encourage you to have a clear no when you're a no, and have a clear yes when you're a yes, and and sometimes step over that line that you've not gone before, and experience and be curious about other things. So we grow continuously in our life. We're not sitting on our rockers out the front, unless that's what you choose to do. That's fine. We're actually involved in our life until that last breath leaves our body. That is what I would feel is an enriching life, and I hope that for everyone.
Thank you, Lulu. Lulu, Susan, Deborah, thank you all so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everyone. You guys, this is way more than a book. This is a generous community of world-changing experts. I have everyone today hooked up down below with their sites, their links. Go explore what they're up to. They're ready to answer a question or carry on these conversations that we started today. You will find a generous community here in this book. And of course, we hope you go to grab your copy. Go get your copy on Amazon today. The link is down below for that as well. Lastly, today, everyone, remember, your words will change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.